What's up, y'all? I'm going to talk a little bit about micro food plots, or a poor man's food plot, kill plot, whatever you want to call it. If you're on a budget, limited time, limited funds, don't have much equipment to plant an actual good food plot, but you want a little extra something for the deer to stop and munch on, that's what I'm going to be talking about today, just a little bit here. You can see this is the micro plot I did this past deer season. It's not as green as it was because I didn't fertilize it. It was just a little fresh green during season, you know, because deer come through here pretty frequently, but I wanted to give them a little something to stop and nibble on, so it would maybe improve the hunting a little bit. Season's been over for almost a month. I've got some corn out. I actually just put out 100 pounds yesterday, and they've already eaten almost half of it. It'll be gone in the next 2-3 days. Here in Tennessee, we can't hunt over bait, and a baited area is considered to be 250-yard radius around the bait, and it's considered to be baited 10 days after the bait's gone. So we can't put corn out and hunt over it. I know some states you can, a lot of states you can't. I'm not for it or against it. I really don't care because I'm going to hunt regardless if it's legal or not, and I don't think they're going to legalize it here. So this here's winter wheat. It hasn't grown much. It's been cold, so it usually doesn't do most of its growing until the following spring. So it stayed short. Also, the deer have been eating on it somewhat. That's helped to keep it short. I plant winter wheat because it's cheap. It grows anywhere. It sprouts. It'll sprout in the bed of your truck. Just give it a little water and time, and it'll come up in a few days. So it's real easy to plant. When it's young and tender, the deer love it. Now, I don't see them eating taller winter wheat that's been in the ground for a while growing. But when it's fresh, you got that seed, that little wheat berry, the actual seed. When it sprouts, the starch in that seed feeds the seedling, helps it to grow before it pokes up above the ground and starts getting sunlight. When it first sprouts, it doesn't need fertilizer. It's got all the nutrients in that starch in the seed. So you've got this really sweet green tender sprout that comes up, and it's good for, from what I can tell, a couple weeks. And then if the deer keep it browse down short, then it'll keep going on throughout the season as long as there's some fresh green growth coming up. I just didn't need it to last for the whole season, so I didn't fertilize it. That's extra money spent on something that's not gonna be around next year. I'm gonna have to replant it. So what I did for this here, you can see the leaves on the ground. I planted it in I think late October. I waited until we had a good rain in the forecast, where it had been raining and we had more rain coming, so the ground was wet and it was going to stay wet for at least a couple days, get that seed germinating. So I came in with a blower and blew all these leaves out. I blew all the dirt, all the leaves off the dirt, got it down to bare dirt. Everything was wet, saturated, ready to plant, and then I took a little spreader, filled it up with wheat, and just broadcast over the top and let it go for a week. It was a week or two before it was coming up good and ready to hunt. Putting wheat on the ground is not considered bait as long as you're planting it the way it would normally be planted, which top broadcasting of winter grasses is a normal agricultural practice, so it's not considered baiting. And I honestly haven't never seen deer eat wheat seeds off the ground. But as soon as it started coming up green, gave them a little something, I noticed the tops of the wheat was getting mowed down like you took a weed eater in spots and mowed it down almost to the ground. The deer were eating it pretty good. And then after a couple weeks of that, they kind of laid off of it and started eating on other stuff. So here at the corn pile, the acorns are about gone now. It's February 1st. It's yellow acorns. It's replacing the real acorns, which are gone. We did not have a bumper crop this past season. We got this red oak here, the one the camera's on, a bunch of young ones. One of the big mother oaks died a couple years back, so that one's not producing any more acorns, but all of its offspring are. We got this other big oak here. This one hasn't died yet, and it dropped a pretty good crop of acorns this past year. You can still see the caps. Now if there's any whole acorns left, they're all rotten, so all the good ones have gotten eaten. It was not a bumper crop this year, but it was enough to keep the deer and squirrels in here pretty heavy when they were dropping. So not only did I have an old logging road bed, or whatever this is here, to make an easy spot to plant the wheat, I also had acorns and a couple good deer trails coming through, so it was kind of a little bit of everything in one spot. So if you go put some winter wheat out in the middle of the woods where there's no deer sign, they're probably not going to eat it much. I mean, it's not like a corn pile. They're not going to go out of their way to eat your winter wheat. But if you put it in the right spot, gives them something to stop and feed on, gives you more time if you're hunting there, gives you a little more time to look at the deer and decide if you want to shoot or get a shot at something. I actually didn't kill a deer over this wheat this year. I did hunt during the rut and I was waiting on a big buck. I had deer all over me, but I didn't shoot anything. I did see a lot of deer on it, got a lot of trail cam pictures of them. Last year I had a plot like this, a little smaller. I put a whole bag of wheat on a real small area up on top of the hill, and I did a video on that 2 seasons ago. I killed a doe that came in with a fawn. They came straight out of the cedar thicket right into the wheat and started munching on it, and it was just one of those things where deer travel to the top of this ridge, so I put wheat right there. So it has worked well for me, and it doesn't hardly cost anything. I think a bag of wheat at the co-op is like $7 maybe. Go to the farmer's co-op and ask for VNS wheat. It is variety not specified, so it could be a different hybrid of wheat, but it's still wheat. It's the same thing to the deer pretty much. You could plant oats, rye. There's a number of different things you could plant as far as winter grasses. The wheat has always done good for me. You can plant clover. Now that's a longer term thing. If you want it to last a little bit longer, then clover is a great option because it sprouts really well. And I'm going to show you what I did here with some crimson clover up in the hayfield. Someone beat me to the field. Come here, buddy. It's a buck. Oh, dang it. I was trying to get a look at him. Oh, there he goes. There's another one. I heard another one. There he goes. Oh, I didn't get a very good video of him. I heard another one over here blow. So we're going to walk out in this cut hayfield. This is something I did just to see how it would do. You can already see it right here. See the clover. We're going to walk up. There's some thicker patches that came up spotty, but right here it came up pretty good. Notice it's February 1st and it barely grew. I planted this the same time I planted the wheat. By the way, forgot to mention this, I've got some hoodies in stock. I got more t-shirts, decals, a couple other things in the store on my website if you want to support the channel. I appreciate it. I've got hats as well coming in. I can't give you an exact time frame. I know they're working on them. The camo ones are back ordered, but I've got some pretty slick looking Richardson hats coming in. I've got 3 different colors coming in. Anyways, so yeah, I've got a link down below in the description to the website where it'll take you straight to the store if you want to go look around. But up here we got the crimson clover, and you can see there's not much here, but it'll get thicker in the springtime. So what I did here with the crimson clover, same thing, except I didn't blow any leaves. They had just cut hay a few weeks before, so the grass was real short and they had, raked hay, so it wasn't littered with leaves and thatch or anything like that. For not even scratching the dirt, disking or raking or anything, I just top sowed it and it came up good. Crimson clover is more of an annual. It'll bloom in the spring and then kind of die off. It doesn't like hot weather. If you want a perennial clover food plot, you want to go with some variety of white clover. The crimson I didn't really plant to deer hunt over. I just wanted it to be kind of a draw for turkeys in the spring because I know turkeys love clover. I mean, right now there was bucks out here when I walked up here. Crimson clover is a little more expensive than wheat, but it's cheaper than white clover. And the seeds are inoculated. They're coated in this gray stuff that's basically, to put it in simple terms, it's the bacteria that live in the root system that take nitrogen from the air and convert it into nitrogen fertilizer, basically. So the seeds come inoculated because not all soil has those bacteria. So when you plant this clover, it's already inoculated. It's already producing its own nitrogen. So it'll come up nice and green. I don't have to put any nitrogen on it. It would still help to fertilize the ground with other nutrients, but just for the purpose of what I'm doing, just throwing some seed out to let it grow, I just let it do its thing, and we'll see how it goes in the spring. I think that about covers what I'm doing. It's nothing fancy. It's not a long-term food source. It's not to replace or supplement their diet with better food. It's a small part of their diet. It's something that they stop by when they're coming through the area and stop by and browse on it. I mean, that's what deer do. They get up off bed. They even browse around their bed. They get up and move towards some acorns or something else, and they browse on their way. That's just what it's for. It's just something there for them to stop and eat on, so I could set up, maybe get a shot at something. And if not, just get cool trail cam pictures or walk up on them like I just did. Look at the tree canopy. There's not much sunlight that gets down here, especially once the trees get leaves on them. So even if I fertilized this wheat and it came up good, it probably wouldn't produce much seed just because it's not getting enough sun. It really needs full sun, and the same goes for the clover. Clover can tolerate some shade, but it does better in full sun. That's why I didn't fertilize this. It's not a long-term thing. It's just like a during season food source for the deer to hunt over. So with that said, I think that's about all I can cover in this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and stick around for some catfishing. I'll be doing some scouting and shed hunting, scouting for turkey, things like that here in the near future. So I will catch y'all next time.